Get Valiant. 97. It's ninjacking time.
Yes. Go ahead
I don't
and
think
just
that's a thing, but
you know what, we can make it a thing. If you're listening to this alone, maybe send it just Ninjak off, whatever you have to do, just two words that
oh,
should always be added together. Yes. Hey, thanks for joining us for episode 97. We're very thrilled to have you guys here.
we're ninjacking off
Yep, all over the
in the
place.
ninja.
So, yeah,
So, not a whole lot of news in the comic world,
kind of
or
slowing.
in the Valiant world. There was a little bit of news in your world, Josh. I don't know if you even care to
Oh,
discuss
yes.
that.
Well, I didn't think about it, but yeah. Finally, the quest is over. I have adopted my third child.
You finally have three.
Fuck it.
Now it's
The
just on for
whale has
world
been slain.
domination.
God damn it. Well, it's been a long time, man. Like, it was like 2 years ago on Christmas when I told my wife we could do it again, and she really wanted another child. And I just was like, oh, we'll just see. And I was like, I'll tell her on Christmas morning because it would be special that way. And it's been hard to do. This was really difficult, but we just met someone last week who was giving a child up, and the baby had been born for a week, and we met her and talked to her for an hour, and then we met her about an hour and a half later at the hospital where the baby was, and she broke the news to us that we were chosen to be the parents. It was very exciting. I mean, it's just I don't even know how you even like describe it. Like it's like the happiest thing you ever hear. Because like I mean, really, like someone telling you that they choose you to be the parent of a child. I mean, like it's a crazy thing. My wife was very emotional, and I wasn't at the time. I saved mine for way later when I was driving to the hospital by myself. But yeah, so I have a third child. We named him Archer. So I was very pleased to be able to work in a Valiant reference because I've joked around very much with my wife. I think we've even talked about this on the podcast where like sometimes I would tell my wife, can't wait to name my kid Galad. We're gonna name the kid Aram. Hey, Bloodshot Rathbun, just something like that, just to kind of like mess with her. But uh I guess it would have been 2 weeks ago. We were talking about baby names, and my wife was like, "You know what name I really like? The name Archer." And I was like, "No shit, I really like the name Archer too." I really do. So it worked. Score one for me. I did have naming rights. That was one of the things I had negotiated with the adoption. Was my wife was always like, "What can I do to get you to change your mind about adoption? Like, what if I give you like a raise to your comic book allowance?" And I was like, yeah, I'll take that. We'll just see. I was just holding up like the best package possible. And one of the things that she threw out there was like naming rights. It didn't really work out in my favor as much because we both liked that name. I really wanted to go with something like really outlandish. But overall, we're really happy. And I don't have him home. Archer's going to be in the hospital for probably a couple months. He's a little preemie guy, but
Sure.
he's doing really well. The doctors are always just telling us that they don't foresee any problems. He just has to grow. He's just got to cook a little bit. So my family is just very pleased. And since we're talking about this, I do want to say thanks to like the Valiant fans. I've had people reach out to me and tell me congratulations, and it means a lot. We are kind of a tight knit community of fans, and that's all I am is just another fan. But like I really appreciate the fact that people took the time to say something nice. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, and again, congratulations. That's awesome. I remember you telling me quite a long time ago that you guys were thinking about having a third child, and um, I hadn't heard anything about it in so long that I just kind of assumed um, that it wasn't, something that was going to continue, still happen. But obviously, you guys were still working on it, and yeah,
Over
congratulations.
over the spring, we were chosen. We had talked to a birth mom on the phone who chose us, and she's like, okay, she's like, you guys sound great. I think you should adopt my child. And then the baby was born, and my wife flew right out. I mean, that morning we were just like, screw it. You can't spare any expense when it comes to that stuff because there's a possibility of the mom changing her mind. And sure enough, even though my wife got there so fast, the mom changed her mind. And it was really heartbreaking. You know, this whole summer has just been like, we haven't seen much. You get notified by email about potential babies, which is really like, if you don't check your email, you're not going to find out. And I mean, we felt like we were getting so far between hearing anything that it probably wasn't going to happen. I was really discouraged. Like I was to the point where I was going to tell my wife, like, we need to figure out. I need to figure out how to tell my wife we can't do this anymore. It's not going to happen. But it did. I'm very happy. Um, there is a big change though that has to happen in that my lovely comic book room. I've had it for almost 7 years. It will go away, which is really. I mean, it's worth it, but at the same time, it's like this has been my place. I do the podcast here. When I lived at my old house, in my comic book room there, I did the podcast. It's where I go to have a little bit of peace, and, read comics, organize comics, things like that. So don't know how that's going to work out, but it's worth it. I mean, like just to have Archer, it's totally worth it. He's I go see him every day at the hospital.
That's awesome.
Yeah, sometimes I see him twice. The hospital he's at's an actual like it's called Primary Children's Baby Hospital or Little Kid Hospital, and it's really close to my house. So in a weird way, like everything just kind of worked out. Just I don't know how that works, but we're happy. So
Yeah,
that's that.
sounds awesome.
Yeah, and I'm not
Really
having any more
excited.
kids. We're done. No more.
Yeah, you're three's enough, huh?
If you don't have a room for the kid, you don't get another kid. I had to share with my
That's
brother
fair.
growing up, and it was miserable. And when I got to like a certain age, I want to say like I was like a teenager, I finally had my own room. But it sucks. Kids don't want to share rooms. Don't have kids if you don't have a room for them. So that's my
Yeah.
takeaway for this episode.
Anyway, no, I wanted us all to be able to kind of share in your joy. That's really
Thank you.
awesome.
That's it's really it's like I said, man. It's great. Like you know, I've been looking on the Valiant store because I need to buy like a little Archer and Armstrong onesie. That's in the plan. You know, God damn it, Valiant. Why can't you make a blue onesie with a gray star? That's all I want.
It's not that complicated. Come on.
Not that easy if unless you're like a Cowboys fan, but I'm not going for like those colors. You know, no Cowboys. Um, maybe just, and maybe I'll buy Archer like a Bloodshot Bear at some point.
There you
Just
go.
get a little stuffed animal.
That'll work.
Yeah. So we
Um,
can move past that.
yeah, moving on. The only other thing that really like the only other thing news wise as far as Valiant is concerned was they're coming out with that super awesome bloodshot nanite protection or nanite prevention kit. That's basically just a bloodshot themed first aid kit. And as much as it's just it's obviously just a little marketing thing that doesn't really mean anything necessarily, but just kind of gets the Bloodshot Rising Spirit logos out there and everything. I still think it's really fucking cool, and I still really want one. So,
Yeah. It's really cool. I mean, and it is. I mean, I was talking with Henry Starling, who helps us sometimes behind the scenes, and he was talking to me about some of the items in it, and I was like, I think that like they're all branded, but they're not. It's just like regular like gauze and band-aids and shit. But it is cool, and it comes with like a little comic book strip done by
yeah,
Jeff Pena, who does a lot of the variants for Valiant out at Arizona Comic Con or fan. I don't know what they call it. I think they might have changed it to like Phoenix Fan Fest just because of the whole San Diego Comic Con
yeah,
bullshit. But it's got that art by him. It's written by Daniel Kibblesmith, who obviously we know has done Quam and Woody. It looks cool, and I always like all that cool merch. Now, one thing that Valiant did say with this one was that it's probably going to be a little bit more limited. Normally, Valiant doesn't say anything about like their promotional items, but they actually came out and were like, this one's kind of limited. So if your shop can get one, your shop needs to contact Valiant right away. Otherwise, you're probably not getting one. It's probably going to be like a one per shop kind of thing, if even that. But
yeah.
the one
I
thing I
asked
thought,
the owner. I asked the owner of my local shop to get one to email them, and I'm pretty sure he's not going to. So,
um, you know, one thing I liked about this was that there's two things I liked about this. One, Acclaim actually did something like this a long time ago at Turok. I want to say there's like a Turok first aid kit that was a promotional. I'm not positive. I think there was. Secondly, This kind of promotion totally reeks of like a Dinesh thing. Like it just seems like the
Sure.
kind of like goofy thing that like Dinesh would have been like, yeah, we're gonna do this, like this is gonna be the cool like promotional item that blends in with this. Kind of like how we had like the 4001 big metal box that had all the stuff in it. Like the Japanese copies of Bry and the coins and the prints.
There was
So
the Bloodshot Island vacation pack with the sunglasses and the sunscreen and a little bag.
I've always meant to ask you this. Do you have that?
I do.
You do have one?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you
Yeah,
wear the
I totally have the sunglasses, the sunscreen, the little bag it came with and everything. Yeah, I haven't done anything with any of it. I've actually thought about wearing those sunglasses, but I know if I actually wore them, I'd either lose them or they would get destroyed, or I would destroy them and lose them.
Oh, yeah. I have the bag somewhere. Someone sold me the bag like maybe like a year or two ago. It's pretty small. It's
Yeah, it's not a real big bag.
oh no, you could fit some issues in it, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Definitely the nanite prevention kit or cleanup kit or whatever the hell it is. It's pretty cool. But I mean, yeah, it's just a first aid kit. You could probably make this thing
Yeah.
if you really want to get creative. I bet you could make this in like.
Yeah, but I just want one sent to me. That's all I
Oh, I
want.
hear you. I hear you.
Yeah. But we'll
So
see what happens with that. I don't know. If I get one, what I would like to do is, open it up and talk about it on the podcast. And I tried to convince Valiant on their Facebook page that they should send one to me for that purpose, but they didn't bite.
damn you, Valiant. Hey, so real quick, one thing we were gonna try to do is I had met with Valiant's like sales manager, Julia Walchuk. She came through Salt Lake last week, part of the Valiant Visits initiative that they're doing, where they're going to shops. For some reason, they felt like bringing someone to Utah, which was awesome. I barely made it in time to the interview because I that's when I signed my paperwork to adopt the baby. So I literally like signed the paperwork and then hauled ass to the comic shop to meet her. And my son knocked down a rack of comics,
Oh, perfect.
which I bought because I'm that kind of guy. But I had to close my hold too because I was like, I don't know what money's gonna be like because adoption's expensive, and we had to like do like some crazy money management to do this. You gotta pay like right
Sure.
away. There's no payment plan. You just pay up front.
Yeah.
but but she was really nice. She was really informative. We talked a lot about sales. I really tried to tie every question in with sales. Unfortunately, we can't get it to work online. If you're listening to this right now, I believe today's the 13th or this
Yes.
is Thursday. I will have this uploaded on outragegeekery.com tomorrow, the 14th of September. So look for that. We'll have that. It was really good. It's about a 5 or 6 minute interview. She was great. She had a really cool Bloodshot shirt, which was I know you've seen it. It's black and it's got the Barry Windsor Smith cover, like how it looks chromium. They look great in person. So now I'm like, I need to go find one of those shirts, but I don't know if they still have them on the shop.
Yeah, I don't
But
know.
having been able to see one in person, I was like, oh man, like it looks great.
Another Bloodshot shirt I need to get.
I know, man.
I wore out my other Bloodshot shirts.
Have you?
Yeah, well, I just wore them so much, like, because they accidentally sent me two of the same shirt, and I wore them both out. And I kept one of them right before it got too bad, and I got it hanging up so it doesn't get completely destroyed. But then the one that I didn't hang up like that and put away, it's got holes in it, and the print is fading really bad, and I still wear it, but yeah, I need a new Bloodshot shirt.
My so I have a bunch of Valiant shirts now, and I have one from the 25th anniversary initiative, like when they did the covers that were like the 25th anniversary covers. They did a shirt where it says like Valiant 25. It's got like the black outlines of some of the characters, and on the back, it's got like a tour schedule of like all the conventions that they were going to that year, with a drawing of like all the characters looking at comic books and stuff. And I had a tiny, tiny hole in the back of it, and I didn't think anything of this, but my daughter ran up and put her fingers in and just ripped it like as hard as she could. And I was like, "What the hell are you doing? Like, I'm wearing this shirt. Like why would you rip my shirt?" And in my house, my wife has this really lame rule where if my shirts in the armpit of my shirts, if they have big holes, the kids are allowed to rip the shirts because it forces me to get a new shirt. My wife doesn't want me to have holy shirts, but this was just on the back, like a tiny hole, and my daughter just ripped it like brutal.
She didn't
So
realize that it was a specific placement.
yeah, I was like, please don't like. I don't ever get anything sent to me from Valiant. It's like one of the very few times I've ever gotten something from them, and it was because something got messed up. So I was like, please don't do that. Like, I have it. It sits in the bottom of a drawer now, and it's got a giant rip in it. And I'm just like, I can't wear it anywhere. I would just look like a hobo.
Oh man. Um, so because yeah, there's not a whole lot of news, we can just jump right into talking about we've got one issue to talk about.
One
Um,
issue.
oh man, Jason Falter's in the uh live chat just throwing nonsense out there. Jason, uh he
What?
said, how cool would it be if Vin Diesel came on Get Valiant for number 100 for a little interview? We need
Oh,
contacts to set this up. Yeah, if you get in contact with Vin Diesel's agent and get him to come on Get Valiant, I will send you any book out of my collection. How about that?
really? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. So you're saying right now, if someone got Vin Diesel on here, you would send them any book out of your collection.
Yeah,
So like, say like the Bloodshot 14 Grandpa variant,
yeah,
your Brian Hitch variant of 25 that took you forever
yeah.
that we had to hear about. I remember there was a time and when we would always talk about the books you were missing, and it was just that. And we heard
Every
about that.
episode, we would just be like, "Oh, I need that Hitch variant."
Oh my god. Somebody get a hold of Dinesh and work this out. Even if he came on for like 2 minutes, how great that would be. I mean, it won't. You get to keep your book, but that would be incredible.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. That's why I'm saying I would do it because
Because Eric's a man of his word for one. If someone found a way to do that, Eric would do it because Eric he's
yeah, I
no
would send you whatever book you want from my collection. Like, yes, I would do that, but it's just not going to happen. Is the thing. uh,
oh how great that would be. But yeah,
that
so
would be, it'd
that
be
would be
pretty
awesome.
amazing. I do have some pretty ridiculous Bloodshot variants. So
As you do have all of them, except you don't have all of them from Salvation, but you have
correct.
everything from there.
Jason said he's got Twitter and Dinesh follows him. So
Oh,
um, the only thing I will say, I think the only things that I wouldn't part with would actually be the Bloodshot Reborn 14 Jason David Frank variants that were exclusive to New York Comic Con. And I could
oh,
not part with those because my buddy Tor, who's been on the show a couple of times, or a few times actually, he got those for me. And there's no possible way that I could part with those. They're signed by Jason David Frank, Miko Sawayan. I actually told him to have Jesse Fresco sign him because he was cosplaying as Bloodshot at that con.
yeah.
And I think also David Barron signed them. So yeah, so those ones I could not part with. But literally any other book in my collection, I would be willing
You know,
to part with.
I like hearing that you're so dedicated to those books because it makes me feel even better that I turned down the book from Tor. Because
Oh,
one of
that's
the
right.
yeah, Tor offered me the second one that he got, and I didn't know Tor. I don't think I'd ever talked to him. He was just like, "Hey, like I listened to the podcast, and you're a part of the reason why I'm a fan now. I want to send you this book." And I was like, "Oh no, you have to give it to Eric because if you don't give it to Eric, Eric won't get that anywhere, and I'll have to hear about it all the time about how
I'd still be
he
bitching
doesn't
about
have
it.
that book." So I figured, like, I don't need it. And Tor has been Tor is incredible. I do want to give him a shout out because he has been really nice to Eric and I. He um he sent me a box at Christmas one year. I want to say it was the first year I lived in this house, almost 2 years ago. I didn't know who sent it. It was just a box, and when you opened it, it played the Rick Ashley song over and over again.
He rickrolled you.
He rickrolled me, and I was like, "Who sent this?" My wife and I had a really good laugh at it. And Tor's great, man. Like he sent me a pile of Unity One blanks one year. Like just
Yeah.
sent them.
I
He
went
always
over to his house because I was coming back from Chicago one time and I went and hung out with him. And because he lives over in Wisconsin. And yeah, I went and hung out with him at his house, and he's like, "Dude, I got a bunch of extra secret weapons variants that I don't need, and so do you want them?" I was like, "Oh, sure." Actually, I was planning to give them away on here sometime, so I got a couple of secret weapons variants. You know what? That'll be the beginning of our pot for what we're gonna do on episode 100. So we'll give away some junk on episode 100, and that'll be we'll throw those in there. Um, and then obviously when Jason gets Vin Diesel on here, he can decide on episode 100 which of my Bloodshot books he wants. Oh, well, it doesn't have to be a Bloodshot book, whatever other stuff I've got. But Bloodshot's what I got the best variants of.
Yeah,
Oh,
uh,
brother.
it's pretty cool to note. Like, I sometimes I look at all the ones that there are for Bloodshot, and I'm just like, holy shit, man! You will never see some of these like variants like cheap ever
Some of
again.
them were so tough to find. Not only that, like that Hitch variant for Bloodshot 25, there's also the Bloodshot 25 anniversary edition that was drawn by, I want to say, Don Perlin. That one is not very easy to find. Um, there are Man, there are some there's so many of them. Like that Bloodshot 14, there's some of the like Bloodshot 3 and 4, some of those variants were really tough. Some of the Bloodshot number 1 or Bloodshot Reborn number 1 um store variants weren't that easy to get. Um yeah, there's some brutal ones out there. But anyway, speaking of variants, we do only have one issue to talk about, but one of the great things about this issue, Ninja K number 11, and question for you: do you actually have a physical copy?
I don't because I closed my hold before it came out.
Oh, that's right.
I have to wait for the pre-order edition to come in my DCBS order. So sadly, for a little bit of time, I'm not gonna have books when we do.
Yeah, I was not able to get to the I was not able to get to the comic shop. So I today because I would have had to gone today, and I was not able to do that. So um I don't have the books, but yeah, I know that I've got a copy waiting for me, and I'm pretty sure I've actually got the pre-order edition coming from DCBS as well. And I gotta say, this book has 4 covers, including the pre-order edition,
Yeah.
and all of them are actually really fucking cool.
Yes. The A cover on this, where it's like Ninjak and Galad kind of facing off with one another, it's rad. I loved how this one looked. I love the B cover, and I love the C cover too. Even though the C cover was more like, I don't think it's supposed to be Galad on the, or I don't think it's supposed to be Ninjak on the cover. I think it's like,
No, it's the Ninja Program variant, so I think
yeah.
that's supposed to be like Ninja D or Ninja E, maybe Ninja C. I'm not sure.
My least favorite one, again, I think this is my least favorite one, was the pre-order edition. Like the last time we did this ranking on the covers, I think the one I didn't like was the pre-order edition. I can't remember. I think it was for Exo Manowar, the latest issue. And I didn't like the one for this one either for Ninja K11.
That's crazy to me because as much as I like the A cover, I would actually say that one's my least favorite of the lot. Of all 4 of those covers, that one's my least favorite. And then actually my second least favorite would be that Ninja Program variant.
Yeah,
Um, that
that
Ninja
B cover. I
Program
think the B
variant,
cover is the best one though.
yeah, I would agree with that. The best one is the B cover. So
That
that
sweet.
that A cover, which like I said, I like it, but it's just not my favorite. That one was done by Kano, however you say his name.
I think
Um, great artist, obviously. The B cover was done by Leo Colapietro, and
I'm
I
not familiar
actually thought,
at all. I don't know
huh?
even who that is, but it's great.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with him as an artist, but I actually saw, I think he posted in one of the Valiant groups some process shots of creating this cover. And he had some really cool stuff in the process of making it, but I think the final version just turned out so well. The Ninja Program variant is Roberto De La Torre, who's actually the interior artist on this book. So it's cool that he at least got a cover for the book that he's doing the interiors on, because unfortunately it doesn't happen as often as I would sometimes want it to.
Yeah,
Um, and then the pre-order edition cover, all of the pre-orders for this arc, I believe, are done by um, Philip Tan,
yeah,
who is an amazing artist. And I do really like that pre-order cover. It's a really epic pose. and I think the flag on there makes it really cool. Um, yeah, so I think it's pretty epic. Um, but yeah, I mean, so we've been saying for a while, and I know that I have felt very strongly that this book, Ninja K, has been the best book on the shelves. And um, I wasn't sure like what to think with the way the coalition ended, and then we kind of had that one issue breather in the middle. And now we're flying into like just jumping head first into a new arc. And I gotta say, this totally lives up to the rest of what this run has been.
Yeah. So real quick, we are going to go spoilery. We tend to.
Yes.
So if you haven't read it, which how dare you not read it before you listen to us, man? I'm glad that we're your priority over reading, though. So you know, just so we're gonna spoil it. So yeah, this book was awesome, and I thought there was so much going on with this book. So I'm gonna recap this issue real quick, if that's okay with you.
Go for it.
All right. So Neville is talking to Ninjak while Ninjak is just slaying a bunch of dudes. Okay, I mean, like he's got heads popping off, he's stabbing people in the face, and Neville's like, "Hey, we need to know where Livewire is. The president of the United States wants to know. Britain wants to know. Everybody wants to know." And basically, Ninjak's kind of like, "Who cares what you guys think? Because I don't have to answer to anyone." But then Neville kind of throws like his card at him, where he's like, "Hey, look, you are looking for the dying one. We know where the dying one is. So if you want to have that information from us, you've got to help us out. We've got to help each other to get our goals met." So, at that point, Neville and Ninjak meet, and basically Ninjak finds out that in like the Ukraine, in one of Dr. Silk's old bases, is where the dying one is. So Ninjak doesn't know where Amanda is yet, but that comes up a little bit later in the issue. So Ninjak kind of goes undercover for a bit, posing as like a Canadian photojournalist. And all the people in this place in the Ukraine, which should have been affected by Chernobyl, should have been affected by the armor hunters a few years back, everybody that he sees is healthy and normal. There's no side effects. And it's pretty crazy. And so he kind of gets to a point where he's maybe asked too many questions. He bails, gets his ninja gear on, and ends up getting attacked by what appears to be some of Dr. Silk's old robots. And then here come the villagers. And it turns into this big fight. And through it, um, Ninja contacts Livewire, who gives him some information about where the dying one is. And in doing so, apparently he finds out, at least he says he does, he knows where Livewire is, which is where the issue ends.
Yeah, I thought that was an epic ending to the issue. I'm kind of surprised that we're at the first issue of this arc. And if I'm not mistaken, and I'm going to double check this really quickly, but I believe this is going to be a 4 issue arc. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, man.
Real quick, while you look that up,
5, starting
five.
with 10. So 4, I guess, if you count this as the first issue.
So one thing that I try never to do is I try to never listen to any podcast that talks about something that we will talk about until after we do our episode. Unfortunately, I did listen to VCF yesterday, um, or only the Valiant, whatever their review podcast is. So one thing I thought that Chris from Calgary said that makes a lot of sense to me is that Ninja K right now is like it's really hitting like its stride right now. I don't know exactly what he said word for word, but Chris had said that basically, this book doesn't even feel like it's slowing down. Like this is like a great issue. And we're 11 issues in now, and this book is as good as it ever has been, pretty much. And I agree with that. Like I thought this was a really strong issue. The only like little doubts I have about this issue would be De La Torre's art, because like the way his style is with this, I always feel like his art works so well with books like Shadow Man and a book like Doctor Mirage. Like I think his artwork looks really good on Doctor Mirage. Here in like a Ninjak book, I think like it's good still. It doesn't quite feel like it's met like its proper home. But I thought that this issue had some really dark shit to it, where it actually worked really well. Um, Dr. Silk's robots that the dying one is taking over have like little kids in them.
And it was clockwork.
Yeah, they're like little clockwork kids inside these things, man. It is so fucked up.
That was really fucked up.
Like when I
Um,
I was just
I
gonna
was
say
going
when
to
I read that, I
agree.
was like, that is twisted, man. Like how twisted is that? You know?
I will agree. I know Jason saying, he really, really loved the art inside this because of the heavy darks and then the white space. So it's there's a lot of contrast. And that's
Yeah,
definitely part of Roberto de la Torre's style. He's really good at using the deep blacks and contrasting them with stark whites. So yeah, I definitely think that that's something that he's good at. And if you like that style, then you're going to love him as an artist in general, I think. And for me, like, I agree that his art fits things like Shadow Man and Dr. Mirage, but honestly, like, even though I think his art is the right style for that stuff, like, I didn't want to read the Dr. Mirage that he did.
yeah,
I didn't even like it. Like, it just didn't look good to me. It wasn't appealing. And it's not because it was bad. It just really just was not a style that I was into. I think what did really, really well with this book is that he emphasized the the kind of motion that he's able to generate as part of his style, because I think that he has this really like um energetic feel to his work when he does it, a certain way. And I think that that's what he really played up in this issue is the energy. And that works so perfectly. Like in that opening sequence, like you said, when Ninjak's like lopping dudes' heads off and all kinds of crazy shit going on. And then when he's chopping up the little kid clockwork robots and jumping over all the townspeople and running away and all that shit, like that was some insanity. And the way that the art flowed for that, it made me read the issue really, really fast because it just felt like everything moved so quickly. Like when I got to the end of the issue, I was just like, damn, that was short. But it wasn't. I mean, it was a normal size issue. It just felt so quick. And I don't mean that in like there's not enough dialogue or not enough captions, because I think that Christos Gage is doing a perfect job of balancing, action and drama and silent panels with, the art telling the story versus, having the kind of narration and thought bubbles and things like that. So I think that that's all done really well. Just the way that the art was done made me read it really quickly. And honestly, like I think that that's good with an action book like this. The slow moments, few that they were handled really well, and then the rest of the book was just over the top, bombastic. It's so good. Like you think of Ninjak as this spy character, and as much as I love Matt Kint's run, and I really do, I think both of us do, save that one arc. um, I love Matt Kint's run, but he focused so much on, kind of Ninjak's relationship with the Shadow Seven, and he really focused heavily on Ninjak's relationship to magic and a lot of those types of things. So we only saw little bits and pieces of Ninjak being a spy. And in this issue, I felt like we got a really good example of Colin kind of playing the people around him, like his whole plan was to not blend in. His plan, was to raise enough red flags for the dying one to show his hand, and he got him to do it. So that was really smart. And then the fact that he did some crazy. Apparently, he coded his message to Livewire in the background of a gossip site that she likes to visit. So he used some like tabloid website to get in touch with her, and then he backtraced her communications to him. And like I said, I was really surprised that that happened in this issue. Knowing that there are three more issues in this arc, it makes me really curious how quickly we're going to see Ninjak resolve what's going on with Galad and the Dying One, and whether this arc we're actually going to see him start running and chasing after Livewire, or if we're going to have to wait for the next arc to do that. I'm honestly fine with either because at this point, I feel like Christos Gage can do no wrong on this title. So I feel like I don't. This is the best book on the stands right now. Not only is this the book that is the shining light of the Valiant universe, I think that it's the best book that I'm reading, period, bar none.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. There was a page in this book, and I want to say that it was on the page when he decided that he couldn't kill the villagers, and it was just a bunch of caption boxes of like his inner dialogue. I really thought that page was so strong, like the stuff that he was saying, like. But I don't have a copy in front of me, so I can't remember exactly what it was he was saying. But if you read that, if you read it, anyone who's listening to this, I really like that page. I thought it was
I'll pull it up real quick, like near
yeah,
the end of the issue you're talking about.
yeah, like when he's getting ready, I think he's trying to reason for like not killing the villagers. You know,
Yes. Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about. Ninjak has spent a lot of time killing people, right?
yeah,
And I think what Christos Gage is kind of almost sneaking into this is a character arc for him where he's realizing that that's not the way things need to be. He says, so here's the page that you're talking about. Ninjak is saying, I could kill all these people, but it would gain me nothing. The dying one already knows I'm here, and if I hack them to pieces because they're in my way, because they're so desperate to live, they gave themselves to a sociopath. I'm behaving just like the MI6, just like the Americans, and like everyone who justifies murder for their own ends. I think that what
yeah,
Christos Gage is showing that um, not only the arcs that he's already done with this book with this character, um, I think that that's coming from Harbinger Wars 2. I think that in a way, this is kind of Christos Gage giving a nod to Ninjak's change of heart during Harbinger Wars 2. And we're seeing into his own book. And Jason is pointing out, Livewire kind of went overboard in Harbinger Wars 2. And Ninjak is kind of calling her out in his thoughts here by saying, like, I would be just like any of those other people who murder to get their way. And that's
yeah,
essentially what Livewire did. Now, I think we all know that, and Ninjak would agree, there's a lot of gray area in what Livewire chose to do. But I do think that yeah, I think that that is being dealt with well. Like Jason said, I think that he's really happy that we're actually going to see all that bloodshed by Livewire be dealt with. And whether that's in the pages of the Livewire book, which I would imagine it would be, or if we get a lot of it here in this Ninja K book, either way, I'm cool with it. I'm so excited to see, how this plays out. Like I said, the most surprising thing to me about this whole issue was the fact that in this issue, Ninjak already learns where Livewire is, and I think that that's going to be it's going to be really interesting to see how everything plays out with the Dying One and Galad versus what Ninjak decides to do. Because the last panel of this book is Ninjak saying, Livewire is right about everything, except now I do know where to find her, and I'm going to have to figure out what to do with that. And I
yeah,
think that's a really interesting place to leave. And that's a huge question for Ninjak. Does he let Neville and MI6 know that he discovered where Livewire is? Or does he pretend that he can't find her? Because that would be believable, right? I mean,
yeah. Well,
I
you know,
don't
and the
know.
thing I
It's
really
there's so many moving pieces. It's really exciting to see where it all goes.
yeah, and my thoughts on that too is that like finding someone would be more of Ninjak's game. So even though he's got to kind of do it through Livewire's methods, where she can do anything with technology, pretty much, he still knows like a way. He's still the smartest guy when it comes to tracking somebody down, which I really like that. I like the fact that I know this gets mentioned sometimes that he's kind of like the valiant Batman, but like this is one of those moments where I feel like, yeah, that's exactly what he should be able to do. He should be able to find someone if they're on Earth with technology in his own right, just because he is the spy. He is like the guy who does these kind of things. Livewire can do anything. She just might not know enough ways to cover her tracks, so to say. But yeah.
Yeah.
And thanks for finding that page. I really appreciate it. That was the page. I thought that page was awesome. Like to me, like that really does kind of sum up what I think of Ninja coming out of Harbinger Wars 2, where
Yeah.
he was the guy who didn't want to be on the wrong side. He doesn't want to kill kids. Who knows what kind of shit he's had to do? Because I do think that when we've seen Ninja get integrated into the newer Valiant universe, he was a guy who was just like hit someone first, ask the question later,
Yeah.
after they're cleaning the guy up off the floor in pieces. Whereas now
No,
he's
that's
got a
such
lot
a
more.
good point. That's a really good point. If you go back to what was it, Exo Manowar number 5, I think,
Or five, yeah,
was Ninjak's first appearance in the current Valiant universe. He was totally like you're saying. He was a kill you now, figure it out later kind of person. And he was just so ruthless. And while he did have a little bit of a conscience, it was more of a big picture conscience kind of thing. Whereas now he's starting to realize that even the minute actions that he chooses to take have consequences, and he needs to be aware of those. And I just think that I think what we're seeing right now is Christos Gage doing his version of what Lemire did for Bloodshot, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And I
I think
think that
that's fair.
I think it's working really well in tandem with what Matt Kint is doing because it's not he hasn't Lemire kind of threw away Bloodshot's past, and not entirely because he still referenced it and it was all still there, but he kind of got rid of it and then rebuilt him from there. And Christos Gage isn't doing that. He's really paying homage to what Matt Kint did with the character over a 27 issue run. Um, he's paying attention to that. He's respecting it. He's referencing it, but he's also building in a completely different way. And he's even immediately responding to what Ninjak went through in Harbinger Wars 2 in this book. And I think that that's a level of continuity that I, as a Valiant fan, love. That this book immediately is affected by the events of another book that Ninjak was in. And then also, like I said, I mean, Christos is changing the status quo for Ninjak. And that's really exciting to me because there's so many directions that he could go.
Yeah, and I think as like readers, we're lucky too because we've had two really great Ninja runs, like in the last
Yeah.
4 or 5 years, and I mean, and look, we love what Crystal Gage is doing here, but we also really liked what Matt Kent did. I mean, Matt Kent did some phenomenal work. He did all the like heavy lifting of who the character was, whereas, here now we're getting to a point with the character where we don't have to necessarily build up who he is. We get to tell these stories. We get to flesh out the world around Ninjak, which I think Chris Gage is doing great work on. Like we
Yeah.
have learned so much more about MI6, the ninjas itself. Because obviously Ninjak isn't the only one. We've learned about the people who train the ninja, and through all that, there's a lot of great stuff going on. Like I thought the coalition storyline was maybe about as good a Ninjak story as I've read. I did really enjoy it. I feel the same way about Siege at King's Castle from Kent's Run.
Yeah.
But I mean,
And the
yeah,
art on Siege. Oh,
yeah. So I mean, like, just tons of great stuff. Everybody, each writer has their strengths. I do think right now, though, we're seeing the dividends of a writer coming on where the character's established and building that world around it. So, as far as my score on this issue, my score is really high, which should be of no surprise to anyone because I think I've scored every single issue of Ninja K really high. I'm gonna go 4.5 on this one. And my only knock on this is just a little bit of like Roberto Tillitore's art. There were a couple of points where I just kind of it took a little bit more like looking at to kind of see what was going on. He's not my favorite artist. He's a great artist though. This is a really good looking issue. It's just I have my own preferences about what I like the most. But this is just I mean like we have said for like pretty much the last year. This is like the best book Valiant's doing.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're a year into this book, and I totally agree with what you were referencing, Chris from Calgary talking about that there are no signs of slowing down.
Yeah.
There's no loss of inertia here. It doesn't feel like um, Christos came in with like a really strong idea to start and now is just fumbling to keep the title going. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It feels like we have a really good long-term plan for the character, and hopefully sales allow the book to continue long-term because I think that if we can get this much quality out of the first, I mean, we're one issue into the third arc, two if you count issue 10, right? And to come to have this much quality and this much character development and world development, I think that if we can get another couple of years of this book, even just another year, obviously I would hope for more, but yeah, I think that it's only going to continue. I'm really excited. What I really like is as much as I agree De La Torre is not my favorite artist, I do like that we're getting to see more artists take different approaches to the character and the world around him.
Oh yeah.
I think a lot of the, other than Fist and Steel, I think a lot of the art in the Kent run was relatively similar. It wasn't like it was all the same, but you had like Clay Mann, Diego Bernard, a lot of those artists who draw not the same style, but definitely a similar style. Roberto de la Torre is nothing like those artists,
Oh
and
no.
and taking it in a completely different direction, and that's exciting to me because we're getting to see something new. And I would rather have Valiant try new things and take risks with the look of this book. Um, I'd rather have them do that than only put my one favorite artist on it. You know what I mean?
Oh
Like
yeah.
I'd love to see Luis LaRosa do every issue of this book, or Miko Sawayan, or Diego Bernard, or Cafu, right? Like I would love to see those artists do every single issue, but we wouldn't get the variety, we wouldn't get the dynamics, we wouldn't get the same variety of experience and richness of experience. So I'm really happy with it. My score on this book is actually exactly where you're at. I'm at a 4.5 on this. I think the writing is basically a perfect five for me. And honestly, normally I would score for myself, I would score Roberto de la Torre lower than I am on this book, just because I am not such a big fan of his style. But I think that, like I said, I think that he played the aspects of his style that fit this book or that I feel fit this book are the ones that he played up. And that really made a lot of the book for me. Like I said, it felt really fast. It felt really fluid and kinetic. I don't know that, you know, I don't know that it could have been better than it is. And yeah, it's a really strong book. 4.5 out of five for me. I think anybody who's not reading this book is fucking up.
I do. I agree with that too. Because and to me, like, I can't understand if you were a Valiant fan and not liking this, because I feel like this is like the top of the mountain as far as like being a Valiant fan is right now. And I actually kind of think too that when we look back upon like this run, we're all gonna feel pretty strong about it. I mean, unless it just fumbles the ending, which I can't see it happening. Man, this book is just so much fun, and it's definitely my favorite book that comes every month. It's also a book now that after I read it, I'm just like, I need that other issue. And I don't always feel like that with every book I read. Like some books, I'm like, I can wait a month. But with Ninja K, I am like fully invested so much into it that I'm like, give me that next issue right now. I've got to know what happens. Because I
Yeah,
think
there's such an awesome
issues ending.
ending to this issue. It just ends so intensely.
Yeah, yeah, great stuff.
Absolutely. What was I? So, yeah, unfortunately, we've only got the one book to talk about. So there's not really a whole lot else. Um, like Josh was saying, he will make sure to get that interview up on outrightgeekery.com tomorrow. Um, and then next week, we are we're getting spoiled big time. Um, Next week, we're getting Britannia Lost Eagles of Rome #3. And that has been, both of the first two issues of that have been really, really well done. Robert Gill is just knocking it out of the park, in my opinion. Would I love to see Juan Jose Reap back on it? Absolutely. But I think you'd agree, Josh. I mean, Robert Gill he stepped up.
Oh yeah, like I am the biggest like Reap fan, and I've been really happy with what Robert Gill has done. So he's not a slouch in the art department. He's doing great work on this.
And then I would say, oh, and then the next one coming out is also going to be Quantum and Woody #10, which is the continuation of Elliot Rahal and Joe Eisma working on this book together. We were lucky enough to have Elliot Rahal on a previous episode of Get Valiant, and actually two previous episodes of Get Valiant.
Hmm?
And Joe Eisma, who interacts really, really in a really fun way with people on the Valiant comic fans group on Facebook. He comments when people cosplay Faith, because he did some faith books. And when people tag him, he responds. And yeah, I just think that he's also just a great artist. I saw somebody post a really awesome sketch cover that he did, and I don't even remember what the character was, but it was fucking awesome.
I saw one tonight. I want to say it was Kevin Bolesky. I think he's one of the moderators over at Valiant Comic Fans. He got a Quantum Woody sketch, I think, of the goat. I can't remember if that's what it was, but it was awesome. And Joe commented on that one too. He is a good guy.
Yeah.
And
And he's a great artist. He's got a really awesome style. He fits so well for Faith, and he's really nailing Quantum and Woody, in my opinion.
yeah,
So both of those books are awesome. And then on top of getting Lost Eagles of Rome 3 and Quantum and Woody 10, we're also going to get what I would consider the second best book I'm reading right now, not only from Valiant, but in general, which is Shadow Man. We're going to get issue number 7 next week.
I totally back that statement 100%.
Yeah, Shadow Man has been phenomenal. And I know
Oh,
that you're not the biggest fan of this kind of falling through the past arc that we're in right now, but I'm really enjoying it.
well, I would say I'm not a huge fan of it, but it's still really enjoyable. You know what I mean? Like I'm kind of coming to terms with the fact that you have to have that journey to get to where you need to be. You know, like you need to take the steps to make you the person you are before you can take all that on. We're getting there with it. And even though I'm like, let's get Jack back to the present day, these stories have been really fun. Um, they're awesome. Andy Diggle to me is just like Chris Gage, where I've read so many things that I thought weren't great, and then they show up at Valiant and they just do incredible work. So stuff that I like so much. If you would have told me I would have liked Shadow Man this much, I'd have been like, it'll probably just be like a run of the mill book. I love it. It's
No,
great.
I'm totally with you because Shadow Man, I think Justin Jordan did a really good job bringing him into the Valiant universe. But as a lot of people would probably tell you, when Peter Milligan had a shot with Shadow Man, it didn't really connect. You could
Yeah,
tell that he had some plans, and it just didn't pan out very well. And then he kind of went away for a while, right? Like, and then we got the Magpie, which Matt Kent did well, when he was in that Operation Deadside arc in Ninjak, and then we also got the Rapture book with a lot of Magpie in it. But it wasn't Shadow Man, and it wasn't the Shadow Man that I want to read, and because I haven't gotten a Shadow Man that I really care to read since Justin Jordan.
yeah,
And now we're in this place with Andy Diggle Shadow Man that is it's just phenomenal.
hmm
And
yeah. So next week will be awesome.
yeah. I mean, that's a really stacked week, I think.
Yeah,
I'm really surprised that we're getting um it's one of the frustrating things, right? Yes, we got a great book this week, but we're getting 3 amazing books next week. Maybe they could have given us 2 great books this week and 2 great books next week, but I suppose that's just splitting hairs and complaining. Oh, here's what it is. Joe Eisma, what I was talking about before, he did a War Mother cover for Doug Elliott.
oh, okay.
That's what I was talking about before. And here, I see if you can actually see it on my phone here.
Yeah,
Um,
I've seen that image. I think I saw it. I'm friends with Doug on
yeah,
Facebook. He showed that. It looks great, man. Like,
it's an amazing cover, and it totally convinces me that Joe Eisma could draw a War Mother book, and it would be fucking awesome.
yeah, I know, and that's another book they need to do. They
Do
need to
some
bring.
more War Mother. I'm down for it. War Mother's awesome as fuck. But yeah, so awesome episode. We've got 3 more episodes until episode number 100. Um,
Two more and then 100. We have 98, 99, and then the big enchilada. So
yeah,
stay
yep.
tuned. We'll try and make it special. Somebody get Vin Diesel on so Eric has to lose the book.
Yeah. Um, I know Jason is really looking forward to cosplay. We'll
I'm working on it, man.
oh man, I don't know. We'll see if you want to mail me that hat you're wearing and that'll be my Armstrong cosplay.
I don't know, man. I don't know if this would fit your head. My head's pretty small.
Oh,
Got a
that's
pretty
true.
small head.
I do have a pretty big head.
Mine is not very big. This is only like I'm a tag. It's a medium. It's a Banana Republic hat. So probably not gonna fit. But
Fair enough.
yeah, but I think you could pull off the Armstrong. We'll see what I do. I've got a couple ideas. I don't want to spoil anything. We'll just see. Because if I fail with how it looks, if it looks like shit, I really definitely want people to come in like with no knowledge of what I'm doing and be like, "What the hell is this?"
Now you got me wondering. You haven't even told me what you're planning, so
We'll
now I'm
see, man.
curious.
We'll see. We'll see. You know. Anyways,
Oh man.
great episode. You know.
Yeah. Thanks to Jason and William for hanging out with us in the live chat. Definitely appreciate both of you guys. I know we've had a couple other people on and off watching today, and anybody that also listens after the fact, thank you. I know we got a couple of comments after the fact on our last video, and we definitely appreciate people watching and listening. Anthony, who was the one that originally recommended that we talk about the covers, which was a great idea. I love talking about the covers.
Yep. That's
So
Anthony's segment. Anthony's cover segment.
yeah, and that's awesome. Oh, you know what? We also got a comment on.
What?
Sky Mitchell commented on our one video talking, which we've already been schooled on, but talking about how back in the day, in the Roman Empire, they actually would flood the floor of the arena and have naval battles in the Colosseum. So apparently that really was a thing that they did, and that's why Peter Milligan and Robert Gill didn't explain it very much. But for those of us who aren't that knowledgeable on history, it was pretty fucking
No,
weird to
no.
see.
It was Matt Kent. It was an EXO that happened.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking of. Okay, I'm in the wrong book. It was in
You're
that
good.
past
You're good.
flashback issue.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're totally
I
right.
know.
I'm in the
And
wrong
and
Roman Empire.
and Chris Amundsen definitely deserves some credit on that one too, because he was the one that brought it to our attention first. Where it was like,
Yeah,
"Hey,
he
look,
pointed
this
that out
happened,"
too.
and I was just like, "Okay, well, damn it."
Still seems fucking crazy to me. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, thanks everybody for listening, watching, interacting with us. Just like Anthony had a suggestion that we start talking about covers. Now I really look forward to talking about covers every time. Before we did the episode tonight, I pulled up all the covers and was like, God damn, yeah, we got to talk about these. So
Yeah,
yeah, any people you want to have other things that you want to hear us talk about, we're definitely open to suggestions. And
and we'll give you credit. We'll give you
yeah,
the credit for it too.
absolutely. Yeah, so thanks again, everybody. Signing off. I'm Eric Baumgart,
I'm Josh Rathbun.
and I hope that you all stay valiant.
Have no more kids.
Zero's the right number.